thought, well, that's weird because we're getting the money. So just how that exactly, how you get that approval, or, I mean, we're not going to spend it and then find out they said no, right?
No,
So,
we're gonna have to be careful on how we do it.
mhm.
We're gonna have to justify it, or you're gonna give it back. So
Yeah, yeah, great.
I think that's the biggest concern I have. So
Mhm.
there'll be more on it. Anna, you have a question look in your eye, or?
Nothing specific right now.
Okay.
I'm sure they'll come.
The next item on the agenda was an update on water and sewer re-levy. Last month, we voted to re-levy our unpaid water and sewer bills. I did send some guidance out to you from NICOM. There was a law passed and the governor signed that does not allow us to re-levy water bills. Our water and sewer bills are tied together and not easily separated for this purpose. So we had to reverse the re-levy. We're not allowed to re-levy until at least the end of the year. So that'll roll our re-levy into the following year. And that's the way I understand it. I know our accounting program was able to reverse the re-levy, and the county has also taken that off the books. Sally, you have anything to add to that? I know you and Kara worked on that.
Nothing really to add. We thought we were going to be able to because the governor hadn't actually signed the bill yet. But probably 2 days before it was going to be finalized, he signed the bill. So then that caused us to have to reverse that. Luckily this year, the levy was lower than it's been a long time. It was around $40,000. So in other years, we've had a lot more money. So I guess on a positive side, it's less than it would normally have been.
And
So what that means is we just have to carry that.
Right.
if we lost that income, that would probably qualify under the American Rescue Plan Act for us to, make ourselves whole with that. But, we have to decide if you're going to do that or re-levy next year,
Mhm.
which is probably an option. So we're going to have to see what the guidance is that we get on that also.
Yeah.
Does that
I'll need
explain it to everybody's satisfaction? I hope that.
Sort of, but if we, if we decide to look at the American Rescue to cover it instead, I would need to understand that.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that that could have been considered a loss, but I don't know that it really is. If we can
Right.
it next year,
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
add it on. So we'll have to see what the governor decides to do with that,
Mhm.
because he's tinkering with a lot of these payments. Okay.
Can I just add that
Moving on.
Can I just add one more thing, just so the board is aware that that's added back onto the customer's bills. So when they get their next bill, that past due balance will be on there. So hopefully they will pay it.
So you're going to hear from them.
Right. It'll be a little confusing for them also.
Mhm. Is there anything we can do to, I mean, it's just confusing.
It is
there
confusing.
anything we can do to,
We can definitely put something on the website.
yeah.
And try to make it a little more clear for people.
Mhm.
But also we'll just be prepared to answer questions when people call.
But it'll show up on their water bill, which is just the card, right? So it's not like
Right.
we can slip something in the envelope to explain.
Right. I mean, we could put something like a sticker on the back of the card
Yeah.
but it's
a lot to say.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I
Most
think
cards
that
don't
is a
leave
good
us
idea.
much room.
It is a good idea, I think, to have something on the website to just, if people say, what the heck's happening, and go to the website to look, it would be a
Yes.
start.
Yeah.
Anything else?
As the next water bills get closer, let me know. We'll put a nice splash on the
Okay.
website. I'm not sure what it is right now, but I'd like to sit down with Mike and Sally and do a clear and concise piece on this and let the water bill payers know exactly what they're gonna expect.
Okay, great. That'd
That
be
would
great, Paul. Thank you.
Really great. I think that's a great idea.
I look forward to seeing you, Paul. Okay, audit update. I don't have a lot to add. I know Sally has been getting, and Kara gets regular emails and phone calls. I believe it slowed down a little bit.
Except Kara jinxed me today, but it has slowed down. They've done a lot of they call it testing. So now it's just questions on their testing, like when they pull a voucher out to look at detail and that's what they call testing. So they're pretty much done with the testing stage. So it will, I think that they're nearing the end.
We think.
We think, but we don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Mhm.
We'll know when
questions?
they're.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, but when are the next water bills due? July? Sally?
Yes. They're due July 25th.
I just want to make a note to maybe talk to you in June,
So,
end of June.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next item was the Housing Authority update. So everybody knows that the Housing Authority Board has been appointed. They should be moving forward very soon with a meeting. I know they've been having conversations amongst themselves and trying to work with the executive director. And for those of you that don't know, Keith Zimmerman has been appointed. Desiree LaBeouf, did I get that right?
LaBeouf.
LaBeouf, okay, well, close. This isn't my strong point here. Bryna Moskowitz and Tricia Pethick have been appointed. We are still looking for a fifth person. And if anybody has any suggestions, we would like to get a full complement of board members there. I think there's a couple of members of the Housing Authority community here with us. I wanted to make sure before I did any public comment that they heard that we have appointed the board and that they can expect to see activity take place that are related to the board and the things that are supposed to be handled by that board. Carol, I think you did a little check-in today.
Yeah, I did. And I'd like to share that too. I spoke with Keith Zimmerman, who's one of the members of the committee, and he says they are trying to get a meeting set up with the director. She was not available until the last 2 weeks of the month. So they've contacted her again to set something up. They've requested to have a tour of the facility. They've also requested bylaws to be reviewed. I understand that bylaws are pretty old, and so they'd like to review those and get to work updating them. They've also asked for a calendar so that they can better understand the governance schedule and the fiscal year, what fiscal year they're on. They have done a HUD training, I think an online webinar training. So that was helpful. They also do anticipate, in accordance with the bylaws, that they will be adding tenant representatives to the board. So, when they get there, they're looking forward to having tenant representatives joining them too. So Keith said they're really hoping to meet very soon, hope to hear from the director and get that set up as soon as possible.
Thanks, Carol. Board members have any questions? Okay. I know some members of that community are here, and normally I would make you wait until the end of our meeting for public comment. What I will do is if any of you have any comment that you would like to make or to us, please unmute, let us know your thoughts. Please keep it brief, and we'll do that now so you don't have to sit through the whole meeting just to make a comment. So is there anyone from that community that would like to make a comment?
I think that the important reminder, Mike, is that, we are deeply concerned about the lack of the board and getting this going. But the authority of our board, it only lies in assigning a new board. So we're really happy to hear about issues you have, but really there's nothing, what's going to have to do is the new board is going to need to really take that bull by the horns and make things happen. But
Thanks.
happy to hear from you just the same today.
That has been the message now, when the
Mhm.
old board existed and now with a new board, that is the direction it has to go. Any comment? Okay. We'll move on then. New business, authorized payment of vouchers and transfer of funds. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Okay. The next item is to discuss and approve the MOA between the village and the United Steelworkers. I circulated the MOA between the union. I would say that was probably one of the quickest negotiations we've done. Klaus, you've been involved in the longer ones too.
Yep, it went real well the other day. I was very impressed.
I think it took us longer to type it up. So it has been distributed to all of you. You've had a chance to review it. The union has voted to accept it. It's now
Excuse me.
in your wheelhouse to accept it. So I need a motion to approve the MOA and the new contract with the United Steelworkers, which is our water wastewater group.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Anna, is there any further discussion about this? Anything more you need to know?
I just had one question, Mike.
Yep.
The newly hired maintenance electrician, is that a position that's being added? Or has
No,
been?
what we did was, in the last contract, we made some changes to account for the seniority of the current electrician. The intention is that, and then when a new electrician came on board, there would be some requirements to get to that level.
Mhm.
And a lot of it has to do with the licenses that they obtain in that group, water and wastewater. And that's what that means. It's a provision in there that when and if the next one is hired, these are the standards that have to be met.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Or anyone opposed? Thank you. Got a new contract with them. I could only wish. Next item is to approve recreation hires for Taylor Park. You should have all received an email. I think, yeah, Beth authored it. We interviewed, I think, 18 applicants for positions as lifeguards at Taylor Park. And I was pretty impressed with the group of people. And these are the people that are put forth to be hired. You have a list of returning people. You have a sub list. You have a couple on the sub list that won't be 16 until a little later in the summer. So they won't be able to do anything out there until they're 16. Do you have any questions, concerns? Okay, do you want me to read off all the names, or can we accept the list as you have received it?
I would make a motion that we approve this list as it was presented, and I will just add my thanks to Mike for taking care of those interviews since I was away.
Well, it was a good way to spend my Sunday afternoon because I enjoyed the kids, so.
Yeah, good.
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Or anyone opposed? Okay. Let's see. Okay, I also sent, the next item is discuss and approve contract modification with Manford Construction. Because of the way things happened up there, we're trying to get some extension on the water supply. Apparently, there's some interest in purchasing lots up there now, and if we can get the water around to further on some of that site up there, I think it's going to benefit everyone. So that was the approach. We also want to be able to utilize the grants that we have to their fullest. They're percentage grants, and if you have any questions, Lee can certainly fill you in. But because of the way the bids came in, we're not going to be able to utilize the full amount of the grant unless we spend a little bit more money. And that'll give us the opportunity to get more work done over there. And that's what this accomplishes. It makes sense?
yep,
Okay. I know I circulated this so we could give some verbal, consent or, an idea where the board stood on this a couple weeks ago, but we do have to make a motion to accept the change order. And I need a motion for that.
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Oh, come
all
on.
in favor? What's that? Okay, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay. Very good. The next item was to discuss New York State DOT and Route 11. We've been having more and more conversations about this as the accidents continue to happen. What I had intended for that discussion and the next item to talk about a home rule legislation was similar to what we did I think it was July of last year. Our representatives in the Senate and Assembly have put forth some legislation that would allow some change in the speed limits. That didn't happen. I think it was approved in the Senate, never moved forward in the Assembly. That requires us to pass some a resolution authorizing us to the home rule legislation, and there's some paperwork we have to do. I'd circulated what that resolution would look like. After speaking, I had a chance to speak with the supervisor today, and he was interested in us waiting until next week to pass it. She would like to do it as a, as a town and village. I do think that they need to do their own resolution, though. I also, in the process, Jerry has looked at this because we just copied what he did last time and changed the numbers. He did have a couple of questions and reminded me that it's important that the town was involved in this. So it worked hand in hand. I had intended to talk with the supervisor yesterday, but it didn't happen until today. So I'm going to be tabling that action. If any of you have any questions about that, I know we have talked amongst ourselves. I know Anna has came to visit me and had some real concerns and thoughts. There's now been a little write-up in an editorial in North Country Now that really highlighted some of the issues. And I think more of that. Anna, I know you like to speak, so.
Yeah, thank you. So I have been thinking about ways that we can approach that besides the legislative ways that the mayor is mentioning. And, this is something that lots of folks in our community are concerned about. So I think all of us are having conversations and all of us are hearing from people that they are concerned about that stretch of road for really good reasons. So my thought was suggesting, and I circulated today late, my apologies, but I circulated a draft of a letter to the editor that I was hoping our board would sign, be willing to sign, sending, asking that the residents of our community write letters and write emails in support of enhanced traffic safety measures in along that stretch of road. Because ultimately the power resides with the people. And so, give us something more to work with as we are trying to attack this issue from all sides and really address public safety. So that was my thought, that if the board was willing to, the mayor and the board were willing to sign on to that letter, that we could either send this letter, which basically just explains why we need folks' help, what we want them to do, what we have tried to do and are trying to do. And that we could either direct them to the website and provide some, like addresses and such, or we could put that right in the letter. I don't know about wordling, there's some logistics to figure out. But then in talking with the mayor, I don't know if this letter is something we would also want to put forward to see if the town wanted to sign on as well. So if we're going to do similar resolutions, perhaps they would be interested in also taking this approach. So given that, I'm interested to hear people's opinions and if this is something we should circulate to the town and then talk about at our meeting on next Wednesday or whenever it is we're meeting.
And it will be a topic on Wednesday, and it may be appropriate. As I read the letter today, I think there was a piece in there that I wanted to talk to you about. There was a location that I wanted to talk to you about. So
Sure.
So there's a couple little details, that's all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that was, it's all up for discussion.
Board, your thoughts? Chief.
Yes, just very briefly, I read the letter over before the meeting. The only thing I would suggest adding is regarding the accidents. That's just dated back to January 1st of 2021. Because if there's a lot more before that, but that would require a lot more research. So.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for your help getting all that information.
Wait a minute, those numbers were just since January 1st, 2021? Well, that's pretty impactful, just that.
That's why I thought it might be good to mention.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so folks know what we're talking about is 5 accidents involving 13 vehicles that have left 7 folks needing medical attention and 1 person who is deceased. So
Since
those are
January
really
1st.
horrible numbers. Yeah, this is a big problem, right?
And there seemed to have been a focus last time about the location of the entrance of the health systems. This has been going on from where the 40-mile-an-hour ends all the way up through almost really to the Cowan Road. So it's not just one driveway or one entrance. It's all up and down that stretch. So I think, I support what Ann has done. The most recent letter to the editor was, I supported that. I like it when people sign their names to things. It means so much more. The board.
I agree with that, Mike. I think the power of having all of our names on it matters and helps. I mean, I think we could sign it, the staff and the board, but also I think that having the town and the village together, I think is also a powerful statement, and because a lot of it's in the town. And I just think we've really got to try to rally as many people to really engage in this conversation as we can. I hate to have it wait, but on the other hand, I do think I think we could be ready to go with it the very next day, and the power of the joint voices, the joint boards, I think would be really good.
Well, I do think the supervisor was very interested in the joint.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to do it with the town. Yep.
So I'll circulate that to both boards then again. And yeah, Mike, I'll talk to you to see what you were thinking.
Yeah, there was just something in there. I gotta go back and look at it, but sounds good. Okay, the next item was to add David Murphy to the Complete Streets Task Force.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The next one was to add Herb Bullock and Pamela Thatcher to the committee.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed. The next item was to begin the discussion of the new marijuana laws in New York State. It's coming. And I guess there's some decisions that this board's going to have to make. And our community's going to have to make. So I think it's time to start the conversation. I don't think the conversation will end tonight, but I think that we have to have a sense in how we're going to approach this. I also, and this is my opinion, that I believe that the community needs to have an opportunity to tell us what's on their mind when it comes to the subject. So for us, I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, some of you may know more about this than me. The one option we have is to whether we will opt out of this. And if we opt out of this, the issue would be sales tax revenues that we would lose for any sales made within our community. The other option we have to, I think about is if we decide to not opt out, is where some sort of store or dispensary or whatever you want to call it would be located within our community, and what kind of limitations would be put on that. So I just wanted to start the conversation because it's time, and other communities are doing the same thing, and I've heard a broad range of things from different communities. Presentation last night in Watertown, I think it was Watertown, about the unintended consequences of this law. So there you go. I started it. I'm sure each of you have opinions, and I'd like to hear them. I think our community needs to hear them. And how would you like to proceed? Should we have a public hearing and listen to input from our community? This is an important topic, I think, in our village. And the other thing is, I don't know how the town would affect us if they make decisions different from ours, or if the county made some decisions different from ours. So those I don't know what would happen if we decided to stay in and the county opted out.
The county doesn't have that opportunity, I think, is my understanding. The town and the village have the choice to opt in or out, but I don't believe the county does.
So if the town opted out and we opted in, is that still possible?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
One of the things I would like, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, and if the town were to opt out, they would not share in the sales tax revenue. If they opt in, or if they do not opt out, then we either agree to an amount, or it is automatically 50-50 shared. That's what I learned about that.
If the store, The store is located in the village. And we both, if it's in the village and the town stayed in, we would share the sales tax revenue.
Correct. It's either 50-50 or an agreed upon division. One of the things I think to understand about all this, and I think probably everybody does, is this is not a brand new topic. This has been, things that people have been studying and talking about and figuring out and thinking about for a really long time. And the governor has proposed it a bunch of times, and now it has finally gone through. I think we're really lucky that people at NICOM have a lot of really good information. I did a webinar earlier this year, which frankly was so deep in the weeds that I was very confused by it. But there was another one just right after the law passed that Mike had sent us information about that was just really very, very helpful, just explaining the steps, explaining what's involved, explaining, if you do this, then this, if you do this, then this. Talked a lot about zoning. And one of the good things is we're very lucky to be redoing our zoning right now, mindful of this. And actually what they were talking about how to do that is largely what we've been doing. Really a lot of the zoning around cannabis dispensaries and all is very much the same as alcohol. And so I think that we've tried to keep our references not to really so much specifically to cannabis as to be more broad and more general. So I think it's well worth looking into. I will say that I think this is high time to be making this change, and I will be very supportive of the town. I don't think you have to opt in, just not opting out.
Yeah, I know it's an opt-in or an opt-out.
Right.
And we have talked about this in our Zoom update.
And I would like to, I don't think it's a public hearing. I think because we don't have, well, unless we waited that long, but I think sooner than later, it would be great to get just public input. We could certainly have some sort of a survey that we could put on the website so that people could share their thoughts. But I think an open meeting sometime where people can just come in and share their thoughts. Part of a meeting.
That was my intention, that I would hear what our community thinks, whether it's, survey, public, whatever. I think that's important, certainly for this, comparisons to alcohol and everything else. I get that. But we also want to make sure that our public is heard.
Absolutely.
That's my only thoughts on this. So Anna, go ahead.
I agree, of course, to the to getting as much community input as possible. I think a couple of things that are probably important for people to know is that really the thing that we as a village can do, and the town, quite frankly, is opting out of retail sales and or on-site consumption. So, that's it. Like that's the only thing. We are either opting in and regulating this in the way that will work for our community, or we're opting out. But, cannabis is still going to be legal. It just might not be, sold, and we might not get sales tax revenue from our community, right? Or there might not be. We can also decide whether or not to have on-site consumption locations. So I just think that's important for people to know, like what the scope of it is. And as for me, I am in favor of opting in, of working with our community and important stakeholders, relevant stakeholders, to develop policies that make sense for our community in terms of where, in terms of directing the tax revenue. That would be my preference, and to what we would do.
That makes a lot of sense. I would agree with that. And it just would be to Canton's benefit to engage in this and get the benefits from it. It's going to happen anyway. We should do what's best for Canton.
Well, as Anna said, the consumption and use is not going to change. It's
Right.
you get a piece of the tax or not. So
Yeah.
I think that's really what it comes down to. So,
Mhm.
and that was my intent, just to start having the conversation between us. One of our board members isn't here yet, or isn't back, but I think we need to figure out a way just to ask for some comment and get some opinion and go from there. Okay.
Yeah, I think a few ways. I agree with that. And I do think, a few different ways for people to be able to, certainly they can talk to any one of us.
Yeah.
But I think some sort of an open forum, but also some sort of a more, if somebody prefers it, a more confidential way, like a survey.
Well,
Well,
like survey idea is a good part of it. Yep.
I've already had several people talk to me who are on the business side of things.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I think that's happened with Carol too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, yep,
great
I've,
interest.
people, this is a topic for people are interested. And again, I think that's exactly, I mean, public comment, but I think we should think about the ways that we can engage particular stakeholder groups. Like, I want to spend some time with Chief on this, and, other, relevant professional agencies in our community, right? I mean, so that we can figure out what is the best way for our community specifically.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other comments? Perfect. Next item was planning for in-person meetings. I think everybody's ready. Carol certainly is.
Mhm.
We're going to try our first in-person meeting next week with a joint meeting between the town and the village. There's been a lot of work done to get the owl set up and a screen and a projector. So we're going to see how it all rolls out. And then I believe that our next meeting in June will be in person. Pretty much what that's going to require is that, our staff that normally attends a meeting is going to have to be here. I don't want to make a hard and fast rule. There may be certain exceptions. What will be nice is that, we'll be able to participate and see people as they participate. And that's the important part. You cannot just join via phone remotely and have anything really. Certainly a board member can't vote on anything that way, but you can be seen and speak in real time, then you can. So for the most everybody, we're hoping everybody's vaccinated and gathered in the downstairs. There will be some rules that we're going to have to talk about the public coming in, but I think we're very close to starting down that path, and the first test is going to be on next Wednesday.
I think that's a good one to do the first pass at, because, I think one of the things that's going to be a challenge is capacity. Because if we have all of us, all of the board and all of the staff, you're getting close to capacity in that downstairs room right
Yep.
there. And certainly a huge piece of what we've wanted is public engagement and people getting involved and stuff. I think for the joint meeting, happily, we already had public comment and public input, a public hearing on the grant ideas. So we've had a chance to, for the public to engage in that. I think the idea right now anyway is that we'll just stream that meeting so people can observe it, but the participation will be more one way. And then I'm eager to figure out how we can figure that out for our ongoing meetings, because I think the balance of engagement, but just limits who can come and how you let people know what the limit is, and somebody drives all the way over to come to the meeting and then you have to turn them away. not great. And then they have to get back home and get on Zoom. So it's not just as easy as opening the doors and even just setting the owl up. So I have to
Well,
figure that out.
and for the next week's meeting, it may be appropriate that a couple people are remote, just to make some more room for maybe board members or something. I don't know, maybe, Kara that takes minutes, maybe it's appropriate that she's in a different spot.
Mhm.
So I think we need to talk about a few of those details.
Yeah.
But as we go forward, we will want to see our board members face to face at our meetings. So a little bit of
Board
luck,
and staff.
our staff, yeah. So, any other thoughts? I think we're very close. Okay. Next item was grant discussion. The town spent some time working on some of their priorities. I think we need to talk a little bit about our priorities as we go into next week's meeting. The town was focused on sand salt storage on their roads. The municipal building, this municipal building comes up, and broadband is one of their big ticket items. I know for us, water infrastructure is an important piece, and we have some big things coming, up. So for me, infrastructure is a big piece. There are some other things going on. I know we're starting to move forward on the Island Park. There's a current grant out there for that. What other things do you want to make priorities that for us?
I think I have a very general list, and I think the value of this is going to be putting all of our heads together. The topics that have come up repeatedly are just housing, housing at a bunch of different levels. And childcare, I just raised that again. Kathy Mullaney raised it, but to be sure we get that in the conversation. One of the things the Recreation Committee has talked about, following our recreation, our reimagining rec, there's a lot of awareness of the potential and that's out there and the huge need, a lot of deferred maintenance, a lot of capital needs. And so one of the things I wonder right off is a lot of recreation needs, which are great economic development, good for families, youth, and all that. But one idea that we came up with really to get going is a needs assessment and some strategic planning that we might be able to hire support for that would really then set us up for some of what we need to get done. And speaking of planning, we have lots of really, really great BOA work done. And so I think looking at some of the proposals that are being laid out there and see what might be appropriate, what might be, whether it's the CFA stuff or the CDBG sooner, where we can go with any of that. So those were mine: rec, childcare, housing, BOA. I certainly agree about broadband and figuring out how we all come together on that. And I believe, I feel certain that there will be some interest from Sustainability Committee. We're meeting next week, and I imagine there will be some ideas coming from there too. Whether those are CFA things or come in somewhere else, I'm not sure.
Anna?
So I'm going to add a second to the water infrastructure. Housing, yes, I just feel like that just keeps coming. I mean, that's been the thing as long as I have been on the board. That's probably the thing I've heard the most about in a variety of different settings. So there's that. Also the childcare, I hope we can do something there. I also think Mike, like a micro enterprise program, Lee has, spoken about that and has done this work before. There is need in our community, for our businesses. So I'd love to see some business support, as well. And then, I think, yes, broadband, yes to broadband. I mean, I realize that in many ways that is a much bigger, town and regional issue, but it is also still our issue. It is still connected and specific to the village. I'm interested in making sure that our, that we really have full accessibility, particularly in the areas covered by the housing authority.
Part of, and I'll only pile on a little bit of the broadband piece. It'd sure be nice if we had some options and competition in the field.
Sure
That
would.
comes from a guy that retired from Verizon, but we need competition and we need options. That's just simple fact.
Yep. Yep.
There's too many things that go by us that not allowed to be part of the mix.
Yep.
Any other thought? Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, one more, sorry. Also, I'm interested in the conversation around the municipal building. The building definitely, is kind of bursting at its seams and could use some, I don't know I have zero idea what the solution there is, but absolutely, I think that, those conversations should move, to higher on the priority list.
The unfortunate part, oh, look at the little man. The unfortunate part is that, like in the case of the municipal building, there may not be money available in grants and things like that. And that's the hard part. But it grants and other things may free up some money for us to do some things that with the municipal building. So I guess we'll have to see. Okay, anything else on that needs to be on the list that we talked about?
This will probably come up through sustainability committee too, but I'll throw it out just to get it on people's radar. And it's related to housing too. We could save a whole lot of money on heating fuel if we did geothermal heating and cooling at one or more village buildings. I mean, the pavilion for one, the village barn, possibly, any village building. We could just in the long run save so much money if we did geothermal heating and cooling. And the thing, I've been talking to Marty about it, and if we need to get an engineering assessment first, of course, to see what's feasible and what we can do. But if we could work that into one of the upcoming grant opportunities to do an assessment of one or more village buildings for geothermal heating and cooling, that would be a real benefit down the road.
Thanks, Klaus. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Can I move on?
Mhm.
Next item is the broadband.
Mike?
I'm sorry.
It's Lee. Sorry. I just wanted to point out that there were a few other things that the department heads have brought up too that I didn't want to. I don't know that we need to bring them forth at the moment, but we've taken note of them from our meeting.
Okay.
Did you want to talk about any of those now?
Might as well roll them out there.
Well, I think they're all here, but I don't have my notes in front of me either. I know that records management was something that was consistent. A generator.
Yeah, the generators, no doubt.
We did talk also about some of the things Carol talked about with recreation and the pavilion and also Taylor Park.
Here, I got.
Sally had
let's see.
something, I think, too. Tim talked about a plotter, possibly.
Thank you, sir.
Have a nice night.
Wow. Oh, right, yes. That's kind of low. I think that's probably low hanging fruit though, isn't it?
Might be, it was something that was brought up, but I know
Yeah.
it's something that Rusty brought up in the past before too, so it's not a new thing necessarily.
It would benefit records.
And you never know where the opportunities might be. If that's low hanging fruit and there's an opportunity for it, it could be something attainable.
But, you know, when I say low hanging fruit, it's relatively inexpensive compared to some of the other ideas.
Right.
That's okay. Anything else, Lee?
I'm looking at this list, more stuff on Pavilion. And the whole idea of the geothermal and the audit came in there. Recreation plan, generator, records management, new building. Central fuel, central salt, storage. Software update for code.
Anna?
No, I don't want to interrupt. I just when she's
Go
done.
ahead, go ahead.
I mean, I guess I was wondering, we lay these ideas out. What's the next step? What's the next action step? Is kind of what I was thinking.
I think we're going to have priorities. What are the priorities first, and what's, you know, we're going to have to rank them and rate them. But as Lee said, you know, opportunities come along that fit different things. You know, if geothermal heating and cooling is a thing, you know, funding sources may be there before, you know, something else. So.
I think that's right.
I
It's a
ju- I'll just-
combination of prioritizing and matching opportunities. Sorry, Lee.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that basically, so the resource guide for the consolidated funding application is out. It is a long document, but it's there. If you know what you're looking for in the index section, you know, you won't have to go through everything. And if anyone is interested in looking to see if there are opportunities to match what their priorities are, what their interests are, I'm willing to help with that. I'm probably a little more familiar with that guide and the programs. So, you know, I think that's it. It is important to have priorities first, but again, if some of the things end up being lower on the list, but there's an opportunity for them, maybe they jump up a little bit. I don't know. You know, it is a matching game to some extent, but I think just in the interest of workload too, we really need to pick out the ones that are at the top and focus on those.
So I wasn't part of the town conversation, but you know, they have 4 items on their list. And maybe it's just because of the way they're set up, but you know, we may have to have, you know, our top picks and then go from there. Anything else? Anna, you're all set? Okay. The next item was broadband committee. We had talked about that in one of our meetings, the joint meeting, I think it was. I don't know, did the town put any names forward for that?
Not that I'm aware of, and I asked you to keep this on the agenda just so it stays on the agenda. I think we're sort of waiting on Dank, and you know, which is probably just kicking in the can a little bit, waiting to see what the survey results are going to be. But I think we need to talk about, you know, what we have this list that has, you know, someone from the school, people from the colleges, someone from VOCES, somebody from the village and the town, and Toby. Toby, you're the only named guy. So we just need to come up with that.
I do have a volunteer from this board that may be interested in sitting on that committee. So
Great.
Anna and I talked a little bit, and she seems interested in
Okay.
getting involved in that. So is that accurate, Anna?
That's correct.
Okay.
So we should see who for the town. And then, you know, probably maybe Mike, maybe, I don't know if it's appropriate to tomorrow when you meet with the consortium, just to sort of put a feeler out there to them and just see if they have thoughts about who might be good from their, really not just the colleges, but any of the others, from the hospital, from, you know, be interesting to know if they've got people, they probably got some good IT people who could bring good things to that.
Okay,
Same with the school, if Ron Burke ends up
Yeah,
at the meeting,
absolutely.
school.
Yep,
okay, very good.
yeah, good thinking.
Next item was joint meeting reminder. That's May 26th.
I'm sorry, can we go back to the broadband?
Who's
Yeah.
that? Cindy?
It's
Cindy.
Cindy, yeah. I guess my question is, are you planning on changing anything that we have now? And if so, I have a program, RPS, that requires certain things. So I guess I want to be a part of the decision if anything has changed.
Well, it's more a question of accessibility to broadband and where there's problems with people having access to high-speed internet. And those are the changes I think that we're looking for,
Okay,
is how to expand everyone's access to, you know, something that really is part of everyday life
okay,
and really is a competitive issue. And it's an issue for our kids in school.
okay,
It's really come to a head, you know, with COVID and remote learning. So
Mhm.
that's really where we're headed.
okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, joint meeting. Next Wednesday, May 26th.
6?
Yeah,
I
what
think
time?
6 o'clock, yeah.
6 o'clock?
Okay. Mhm.
Mary Ann will have an agenda soon.
Okay.
We talked about that today. We need to set a year-end meeting. The bills have to be in by the 26th. And the clerk and I were looking at May 28th, Friday, May 28th in the morning, just to get that wrapped up.
Mhm.
8 o'clock work for you, everybody, or is that a little early for some of you?
It's a little early, but it works.
I get emails from you before that, so.
It's possible Beth may be our, we'll just have to be sure she can do it.
Well, and really it's all about paying the final bills. So if Beth can't be here, we can still pay.
Yeah. And she can probably Zoom.
And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if she can't Zoom in, because usually morning she's pretty free. I don't know, Anna, Monday mornings, okay? Or Friday mornings, okay?
Yes,
Okay,
and 8 a.m. on Friday would be fine.
okay. This is just to pay final bills. It's our last meeting. I'll explain it to you. Okay, so that's it, Sally. We're gonna do that on the 28th at 8 a.m. The next item on the agenda is the new fire department member that was added on. Need a motion to approve Jaden Caldwell, new member of the Canton Fire Department.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay, and the last item was to approve taking our trash waste removal contract out to bid. It kind of, we really do need to do this every once in a while, just to make sure that we're getting the best service. What was circulated was what we have and where it is, the size of the dumpsters, and you know how often they're picked up, and you know right now, you know, I think the contract came due, didn't it, Sally, or with Waste Stream? That's really what drove it.
Yes, the contract is, goes to the end of May, but they're willing to extend it month to month until we set a bid date.
So we really do need to do that. It was one of the first questions I was asked by DeSema. When was the last time you bid your waste removal? So we'll make sure we get that covered. I don't know that there's many other options out there, but there may be that we don't know about. So with your approval, we're going to go forward and bid that.
Sounds good.
Okay, and with that, I'm done.
Mike, could I have just 1 second? I'd like to say one more thing tonight, if I may.
Yeah, and then I have public comment.
Oh, we can call this public comment then.
That's good.
It comes under that category. What I would like to do is address the talk that I've been hearing in town and the news we've been reading in the paper about the toxic climate in the municipal building. I've had conversations with some of you, and I know we all have different perceptions of the situation. But I know what I have experienced and observed, and I know what others have said that they've experienced, so I feel compelled to say something. I have always enjoyed good working relationships with village staff and board members in my 8 years of elected service, and even before that. I've been known to brag about how well the village and the town work together, and I believe that was absolutely true and genuine. I am committed to treating everyone, staff, fellow elected officials, residents, visitors, with courtesy, professionalism, and respect. And I expect nothing less of all of my colleagues and friends in the building. We must ensure an environment of camaraderie, of mutual respect and kindness. And I thank you all, each and every one of you, for helping make that a priority.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I'll just say thank you, Carol. I support that. Thank you.
Yep, same here.
Me as well.
Mike, since Beth is back, you want to run that 8 o'clock meeting by her since she's here?
Yeah, I just had to answer something. Our final meeting, year-end meeting, will be May 28th at 8 o'clock. That'd be Friday, May 28th at 8. Can you make it?
Is that Zoom, Mike, or in person?
That's going to be Zoom.
Okay,
Friday night at 8 p.m.
Friday morning.
AM.
Okay, sorry. I was gonna say, do we have cocktails after?
Before.
At 8 a.m. I was
Maybe
thinking
we'll,
it's PM.
maybe we'll change that.
Zoom cocktails.
Jerry,
Sure, I can do that.
are we still okay to do Zoom for this final meeting?
The executive order we're currently operating under goes through June 5th, so you are fine.
Okay. I think that's the easiest way to do it in this case, so.
Sure.
Yeah, because it's going to be fast.
Okay, we'll get a link out to you and it'll be on the 8th. The 28th at 8. I'll get it. Okay, any other public comment? And that wraps it up. We need a motion to go into executive session for, let's call it possible purchase of property.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, Sally, you can stay.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Have a good evening, everybody.
You
Thanks,
too. Happy
everybody.
birthday, Mike.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Yep.
I don't know if
Bye.
I'm going to get a call here or not, but I told them to call.
Mhm.
But if you don't, I'll call you.
You know, something about Parker calling me, it just isn't the same, Carol. You know, I love you, but when Parker calls me, it's a whole nother level.
Happy birthday.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Guys.